Next up on the list of games that I love and will rant in defense of is the fourth main entry into the Elder Scrolls franchise, subtitle Oblivion. Being released back in 2006 and coming right after the success that was Morrowind and its two main expansion packs, fans were eager to find out where in Tamriel this new game was going to be set. See, as we all know, the Elder Scrolls games are named after the province they're set in, except for Elder Scrolls 1, 2, 4 and the two shite spin-off titles that no one really gives a fuck about. So I guess only two of those games were actually named after where they were set, that being Morrowind and of course Skyrim. Whereas in comparison, Battlespire was set in a Battlespire, Redguard was mainly in Hammerfell, Daggerfall was also set in Hammerfell but also in High Rock, and Arena was not actually set in an arena but was set fucking everywhere. So what about Oblivion? I can't remember which region that is. It's not a region, dumbass, it's another plane of existence that you have to go to, and it looks cool, but will lose its novelty very, very quickly. Wait, why is the bad stuff showing up this early in the video? Oblivion is set in the Imperial Province of Cyrodiil, which is located right about here. The story follows some nameless prisoner who comes into contact with the Emperor himself, voiced by Patrick Stewart no less, who I can't take seriously because every time I hear him speak, I can only hear,
"Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm going to go party my nose clean off my face."
But after he gets assassinated in a sort of cutscene, you are told that with his death, the barriers to another dimension that sucks called Oblivion, or the Deadlands if you really want to get anal about it, have come down and now all manner of demons and monsters are flooding into this realm, and all in the name of preparing for an invasion for the demigod Mehrunes Dagon, who, if you're not familiar with, is a massive You are then given a sacred amulet to take to a priest somewhere else and told to go on your way, and after leaving the tutorial area, you are then free to do whatever the fuck you like, just shy from dropping the amulet in a lake and going off to the nearest tavern to get wankered. You can't actually drop the amulets, but you can do the other thing. See, this gaming series is all about freedom, dropping the player into a massive open world environment with its own history and culture, with so much to do, so much to find and explore, so much to kill, and so much to hoard. Wanna be a hero and go save the world from said c***? Then do so by following the main questline. Wanna not do that and go punch a guard instead? You can do that too, you
Criminal scum.
Wanna break into every store you find and steal everything that has a price tag on it, and then sell all of that creamy goodness to a black market fence? You can do that. Wanna go free running in a town? Yeah, I'm pretty sure that was never intended, but you can do that too. And there's so much you can be a part of too. You can become a mercenary, you can study magic at a mage's university, you can become a gladiator in an actual to the death arena, you can become a part of a thieves guild, you can be a professional assassin, all of which is open to you as part of many side missions and joinable factions. And then there's things that the game never really thought you'd do, but you can do anyway, like play in the markets, by buying up a certain product in one town and selling it off somewhere else for a profit. You could be an archaeologist and search for rare artifacts and junk. You can buy a house, decorate it, and then trash the place by casting lightning bolts that makes the furniture go flying. Or, if you get powerful enough, you could be a mass murderer and just go around each town hacking everyone to bits. Can you tell that I like this game? Yeah, because I kind of do. Pretty much everyone who had played Morrowind would come over to see how number 4 would handle things, and what seemed to be the case was that it got a mixed response. Some people loved the f*** out of it, to which I couldn't agree more. Some people thought it was okay, but was lacking in certain areas that Morrowind did better, while some thought of it as a letdown and a step away from its roots as a true RPG. Though Oblivion was the first in the series that I played, I did eventually get round to Morrowind after a couple of tries, and I can understand where people are coming from in saying that Morrowind does some things better than Oblivion. For starters, the atmosphere in Morrowind is much better. The scenery and locales of that game are so distinct and unique that getting lost in that game was actually an enjoyable experience, rather than a chore of having to stop and ask for directions. Morrowind's map was so diverse, with so many microclimates and pocket environments that dotted the map. You'll be walking through a lush forest area with mushroom-shaped trees 1 minute, to all of a sudden finding yourself surrounded by rivers of lava and a volcano at your feet the next. And you'd be surprised how often this sort of thing happens. And though it made traversing that place on foot a mission in itself, it was also a mini-adventure just to see what's around the next corner. And quite literally anything could be around the next corner. Oblivion's map, on the other hand, was very bland in comparison. You see, Cyrodiil has about 3 regions to it: poor, rich, and cold. The poor area is mostly flat, with a few towns in it, but they're all run down and ghetto, and are all surrounded by marshlands and bogs. The rich part consists of nothing but plain green fields, a couple of forests, a few clean-looking towns, and maybe some hills if you're lucky. And finally, the cold area is a bitch to traverse thanks to mountains. Mountains everywhere. And it snows all year round. I remember thinking about this just before Skyrim came out, considering that Skyrim is located directly north of Cyrodiil, and that the north of Cyrodiil is constantly snowing and stupidly mountainous. Wouldn't that make Skyrim even worse? Just heading to the nearest village to buy some bread would require a Sherpa. Thank God Skyrim didn't turn out to be like that. Morrowind had that wonder of exploring, and it actively encouraged you to do it. This was partly in thanks to the limited fast travel system, which a lot of people said was probably first introduced to the series in Oblivion, and you can fuck off right now if you're thinking that, because fast travelling has been there since Arena, it's just that Morrowind dialed it back for some reason. But whether this was intentional or not, travelling to a particular cave or ruin required you to plot your own course. You had to find out which town or village to travel to first, before footing the bill for it, then which direction you had to go in, and then keeping your eyes peeled for anything that might be what you're after, and hoping that the cave you just entered was indeed the one you wanted. Morrowind didn't have a map marker or quest marker, and you had to keep up to date with this yourself. It meant that you were investing a lot more into your mission, and as a result, even the dullest of quests felt like it was more epic than it actually was. It put value into each mission. Oblivion didn't do that. Instead, you just get on your horse and ride quickly to where you want to go. All times after that, you can just fast travel there. It's not really a complaint, it's more of an acknowledgement that Morrowind did it better. But what Oblivion did do better was how it implemented its combat mechanics. Morrowind's combat was based off of statistics and invisible dice rolling, and early on in the game, this will naturally infuriate the player to no end, resulting in an embarrassing scene where a fully grown man with a sharp sword can't hit a small rat in front of him, and the rat is winning. Now when we swing our sword up close at an enemy, it actually hits! Sure, you won't do much damage when you first start out, but now there's a clear feedback of what I'm doing and that I'm in charge of combat, instead of an unseen program. So now if I die, then it's all down to me for being a poo and not being good enough, or getting into something I had no hope of winning, rather than losing the fight because I rolled snake eyes for trying to stay alive. Now the gameplay felt much more engaging than before, where every fight was this struggle for survival, yet at the same time, you're still trying to pull off loads of cool fighting moves just for the hell of it. See, as much as I love Morrowind, it did feel that my gaming experience was somewhat closed off until I managed to get my primary weapon of choice's level up high enough for combat to start getting interesting, which made me hesitant to go off and explore at the start. Also cliff races. But in Oblivion, thanks to the combat giving you the possibility of holding your own against most enemies, the whole world is open up to you from the get-go. You can go anywhere and do anything, so long as you can actually pull it off. Also, despite the environments not really living up to the high expectations that Morrowind set, Oblivion's awe and wonder comes more from its set locations, such as cities and ruins. The ancient ruins that you can visit are, though dark, pretty mesmerising the first time you enter one. You truly do feel like you've just set foot in an underground city of an ancient civilization that hasn't existed for centuries, and you're the first person to set foot in there since. This just sets you off in a mindset of excitement and wonder, eagerly awaiting what treasures you'll find within. Morrowind's external map was more interesting than Oblivion's, but I'd argue that Oblivion's internal map was more interesting than Morrowind's. Dwemer ruins were pretty boss, I'll admit, but they just didn't have the atmos that the Ayleid ruins had. Vivec, for another example, looks so cool from the outside, but go inside and meh. Cramped, I'll move on, thanks. The Imperial City, or Skingrad on the other hand, looks pretty good from the outside, but then go inside and wow, looking cool, Joker! Some of the DLC was pretty damn good as well. The Shivering Isles was one crazy ride and the map was weird and twisted, but in a good way. There's a DLC that lets you own your own castle, and who can forget the much needed addition of the horse armour? Nope, couldn't finish that line with a straight face. And I can't end the good section of this video off without talking about the modding community. Now, to be fair, the modding for both Morrowind and Oblivion, as well as Skyrim, is excellent, but there are a few mods I want to give a shout out to. When it comes to modding, I'm only really interested in graphics and text overhauls, and quest and faction add-ons. I was blown away when I realised that there were some quest mods that were actually better than some of the game's original content. In particular, I want to give a shout out to The Lost Spires, Heart of the Dead, Knights of the Nine Revelation, Malevolent, and Servants of the Dawn for providing storylines and events that were, in many cases, far more memorable to me than most of what happened in vanilla Oblivion. However, on the flip side, this game does have a few things that makes you go, Oblivion? What the f***? First to be said has to be what happens when you enter dialogue with another character. Now, I've noticed that this happens with f***ing everyone in this game. Choose any NPC you want, walk up to them, and then this happens. Everything around you freezes while you're having this conversation. Presumably so that you can't get attacked while you're having this talk, but I call bollocks on that, because all this serves in doing is breaking the immersion. Fallout 4 let other characters attack you in dialogue, and all it does is cancels the dialogue. Which makes sense, because if someone started attacking you in real life, you're not going to just ignore them and hope this person will realise that they're not impressing anyone. I heard that the Thieves Guild is recruiting more... you okay, mate? There's a dude behind you who's slicing you up quite bad. Yes, I know, but just pretend like he's not there. He'll get bored eventually if we just ignore him. However, if someone is charging at you with a knife, you're also not going to stop time by turning to someone to ask them about what they make of mud crabs. And when you do talk to these people, they stare at you intensely, as if for this brief moment of time, everything in their world has vanished and only you remain. You are at the centre of their world, and they wait on your next word on bated breath. It's creepy as hell. Also, some of the voice acting and dialogue is a little strange, to say the least.
I could be banished for telling you.
Okay, I'll show you, but only because you are my dear friend. Follow me.
Please be discreet and don't bother the other monks.
You go up to a beggar, she does the whole beggar routine, and then starts talking as if she's just come out of an elocution class.
Thank you, kind sir.
Claudette Perrick runs a fine alchemy shop.
And then there's this girl who has the best line in the entire video game. Possibly best line in video game history, period. If you already know about this, then just enjoy it again, but for those of you who have no idea what I'm talking about, then I'm not going to say any more, so just sit back and get ready to drop some serious lols.
I heard that thieves broke into the Arcane University, the Imperial Legion compound, and the temple all on the same night. Wait a minute, let me do that one again. I heard that thieves broke into the Arcane University, the Imperial Legion compound, and the temple all on the same night. Wait a minute, let me do that one again.
As mentioned previously, the climate and environment of Cyrodiil is a tad bland and on the safe side, which I suppose isn't a bad thing, and don't get me wrong, it's colourful and pretty and nice and shit, but considering where we came from, that being Morrowind, you have to admit that despite the amount of fun that we're going to have in this province, it certainly doesn't look like it when you stop and take a look around. But don't worry, because to spice things up, we have the realms of Oblivion to traverse. With the barriers between the two worlds rapidly collapsing... Two worlds. You are able to walk through one of these menacing-looking portals and end up in what looks like the parts of hell that the devil hasn't quite decided what to do with yet. Massive lakes of lava, jagged rocks about the place, foreboding towers that stare you down when you enter. The first time going into this realm was an utter blow to the senses. It felt very threatening and that the worst was waiting for us right around the corner. It fills you with determination. Now, you go to this realm many times throughout the game, and unfortunately, the setting doesn't change in the slightest whenever you go there. Once you've seen one section of Oblivion, you've seen it in its entirety, and the once fascinating hellish world soon becomes a realm that you associate with the act of going through the motions in. No wonder Mehrunes wants out. Continuity is another factor that springs to mind. Hell, even some bloody common sense would be nice. You go to Coral, a rich town, and speak to the countess there about buying a house. She won't sell one to you because she doesn't know if you're trustworthy. So you go and close the Oblivion gate outside of town by going into it, killing everything that moves, and shutting it down from the inside. You go back to the Countess and tell her that you've effectively saved the entire town, so now can she sell your house? The answer is no. However, find a missing painting and the house is yours for a modest sum. No, let's take this even further. Tell her some dirty jokes in the conversation minigame. That's all you need to do to prove to her that you're trustworthy enough to own property in this town. Milady, I've just saved your town and all of its people from total destruction. Can I buy some property?
No.
Alright then, how about this? Why was the guitar teacher arrested? Because he fingered a minor. Oh god, that one was awful. Or the Blackwood Company in general. I'm pretty sure if you get hired by a community to carry out a mission, and then you go to said community and massacre everyone there, then no one will ever hire you again. And yet, they seem to be doing really well for themselves. In one mission, you get contracted to clear out a village that's having some sort of difficulty, but before heading out, you're told to drink a suspicious substance. You then get absolutely mashed out of your balls on this stuff, go down to this village, plunder the place, and then presume that that counts as mission accomplished, not knowing that you've just wiped out the local community. It's like an average Saturday night in Nottingham. But instead of sending the army in to give this organisation a good spanking, the Empire is all like, nah, it's fine, don't worry about it. Oh. I guess I'll be handling this as well then. And if you've been following this channel for some time, then you'll naturally know how I feel about Martin, Joffrey, and the Blades in general. Dealing with them is yet another Ramirez do everything scenario, and it feels less like we're assisting in saving the world, and more like they're taking the piss and getting me to do everything. I understand that the player should be made to do everything, but don't let it come across like that. Say something like, we would help, but there's pressing matters elsewhere that we have to attend to, or I would help, but I've got to go see a man about a horse, or whatever. A good game will get you to do everything, whilst making it seem like you're just pulling your own weight in this operation. But through it all, Oblivion just has this charm, I suppose? This feeling of excitement and adventure that no other game has. Sorry, Two Worlds, you failed to cut the mustard in the end. Skyrim feels like an epic tale that's being driven by the main story. Morrowind felt like it was all about the exploring. But Oblivion felt like the devs had gone, right, here is a massive world filled with countless wonders. Go nuts. It felt like the main point of this game was to do whatever the hell you wanted to do in a medieval fantasy setting, and I just love this game for it. The first time playing this game was a very magical time for me. I was still at university when this came out, and was playing this on a friend's Xbox 360, and finding the Thieves Guild for the first time was like unlocking a dangerous secret that you had to keep from the rest of the in-game world. Or even when I accidentally joined the Dark Brotherhood, and I had my mates constantly asking me how I did it, and I was being all smug and didn't tell them. Skyrim is more a mainstream game compared to the other ones, and Morrowind required you to get over a few hurdles before the magic begins. But Oblivion was open from the get-go, and I ended up becoming absolutely consumed by this game back in the day. It's easily one of my most played games of all time, and I still hold it as my second favourite game of all time. Though I'd say that Skyrim managed to improve on Oblivion's formula a lot, and arguably Skyrim is the best in the series, though that is up for debate, my personal favourite was, is, and always will be, Oblivion. In conclusion, fuck the adoring fan.
Wait a minute, let me do that one again.
Life is killing me. I swear sometimes I think this life is killing me.